go.
It's Friday morning, or I think for me, it's still Thursday night. So,
Go Doobie Brothers.
Yesterday was a great day, which led to a great night. I got to see the 50th anniversary of the Doobie Brothers. They reunited with Michael McDonald, and let me tell you something.
That's awesome.
They sounded amazing. I mean, so you guys that are 70 plus years old who played for 2.5 hours without a break, crystal clear. You forget how many songs Michael McDonald did with them to make them great. And outdoor venue, hot as shit during the day. When the sun came down, it was actually cool and breezy. Virginia's here today. Her parents were there. Oh, no, that's Greg. Virginia.
Yeah, Greg's parents were there.
Right. Virginia or Ginny, whatever, they're from your part of town. They're from Oakland. That's a band from Oakland. And so you see Pat Simmons with his long gray hair, 70-something years old, just having fun.
That was the one thing that Jake texted me last night is he's like, to see these guys 50 years later having so much fun doing what they're doing, there's no replacing that,
And, the history of the band, went through different evolutions. Michael McDonald came in like sort of the middle, changed their music, got a little jazzy, got a little bit more, contemporary, if you will. But when they rock, Shay, show me Jesus Is Just All Right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so you're in a crowd where Jake was one of the youngest. Obviously, he always was. Everybody knows every word to every song,
right?
So people are just dancing and singing and doing their thing, and just could not have been more fun. Shout out to them. Thank you for all of the years, all of the great memories. It reminded us. I took Jake to a Doobie Brothers concert in Boca at Meisner Park. He was 6 years old. I was doing business with the venue. We sat front row. The Doobie Brothers could not believe that he knew the words to the songs.
Right.
Pulled him on stage, gave him, and it was a day when there was no cameras, there was no phones, pictures. So that memory has to live up here. But to see Jake enjoying it at 24 still was great. So lots of fun. Shout out to them. Their song, Listen to the Music, is one of the rules in my book, in case you did not know that I wrote a book. Did you know that I wrote a book?
I did know that you wrote a book. I'm pretty sure everybody in the huddle knows that you wrote a book.
If you don't know
Before we get to morning motivational music, we've got some shout outs from yesterday, because not only was your day historic because you saw the 50th anniversary of the Doobie Brothers, I think for the first time in history, a LinkedIn Like a Pro session was taught and not a blank invite was sent after. 100%. So shout out to the First Point Advisors group. It was an absolutely phenomenal day for a presentation. They were engaged. They were asking questions. They were diving deeper into how, why. It was really great. But then historically, every time we teach a LinkedIn Like a Pro, somebody in the class doesn't pay attention and sends a blank invite. Not yesterday. Everybody 100% with notes. So well done to you guys. Great stuff.
Is that the quality of the coaching? Is that what you're trying to say?
Maybe. I'm going to pass it to them. I'm going to give the credit to them that they were just really engaged. There wasn't anybody who wasn't like just eating it up every second. And they were all super excited to get started after. And they did it the right way, which is very cool.
So good job, Nick.
That's right, Nick. Your crew did well.
Great job. Now, here's another historic thing that I thought you might say is that both of us were out and in person doing our thing yesterday. I was with the folks at Rogue, the Rogue lawyers, Rogue attorneys. They were amazing to work with. We had 2 people in person, a couple of people virtual, as their group is national. And it's so much fun watching people flip, because they're attorneys. They are legitimately like skeptical. And we're into this a little bit now. And they're like going, okay, so.
So part of that too is, we talked yesterday about sales leadership. And what was really cool about First Points Group is that there were a couple people that were fresh out of school, 1 or 2 years removed. And when you ask them what makes people good at sales or what is sales, their perception of what it is couldn't be further off than what it actually is.
Right.
And so when you start to talk to them about it and really get them working through critically what really makes people buy and how they do it, their minds were blown, which then opened them up to really receive how LinkedIn works. So it was really cool. But again, it goes back to leadership, goes back to school. What are we teaching? What are we teaching in business school? What are we teaching in the sales classes that people think it's still all about closing and, convincing people to buy? It's bullshit.
Right. Yeah. Talk to me about your pure persuasion skills.
Right.
How can here's a hack. Here's a trick. Here's a way to trick.
And that goes back to that's school. Kids are coming out of school with that perception of business development.
Crazy. Let's get to wake up music. And then we are digging deep into the habits of what great salespeople, and I think I'm going to remove that word and call them biz dev.
I like it.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody! No more sleeping in there. No more back to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
So a big shout out to everybody who's posting good morning in here. We appreciate it. We know there's lots of people watching who are not saying good morning. So those who take the effort to do that, thank you. We're going to continue the dialogue about yesterday. And Mark, we could do this dialogue forever. This is what every huddle could be, because it's never ending. The words, the theory, the mindset, of great, people in business, not great salespeople so much. But there's one particular Doobie Brothers song that actually speaks to what I think one of the skill sets that you need to be able to do. When I think of campaigns and, people who are politicians do this really, really well. But Shay, give me the Doobie Brothers.
Such a great song. It's so good.
They played it with Michael McDonald.
Right. Unreal.
That same dude, beard is all white now, man, but the voice is undeniable. The stuff he's done was amazing.
So I have a question for you. How much older did he look, before we go on to the conversation about sales, how much older did he look than the last time we saw him at Gulfstream Park. Because I remember seeing him.
Everybody last night.
Then.
Right.
He was,
so I was
white beard, white hair.
One of the things that our company handled was the concert series at Gulfstream. I was responsible for raising all the sponsor dollars. And what they did was they had like B and C bands coming through there all the time, which, by the way, they got paid diddly back then. Now they're making real money again in their 70s. It's insane. Right. But he turned white early in his life. And I thought it was just kind of cool. It was a cool kind of look, you know, that just made him stick out. But certainly his voice is so amazing. He played backup for, you know, Sting. He played backup for, you know, Steely Dan. He's done so much in his life. Just, you know, he did stuff with Diana Ross. I mean, everybody. His Motown album was amazing. But I remember you and I sitting in the dressing room with him.
Right. And you talk about his look, like that to me is, I was young. I don't even remember how old I was then, but it stood out to me. Like seeing him, he was like this, you know, white bear, you know, he had the big beard, big, thick, full beard and a thick head of hair. And it was just cool, you know?
So not to be denied, Mr. Craw was there. He was about 20 rows back of us. So good comment there, because he does have a full
head of hair. Like, and I remember it from being a kid.
I mean, Pat Simmons has got, you know, long gray hair. So anyway, enough about the Doobies.
Sure.
I could go on all day.
But those words are appropriate in that song. Like, and I don't even know where you're going to go with it, but to me, you don't know me, but I'm your brother. Yeah. Like, to open a dialogue that way, or to approach every relationship or connection that way. You don't know me, but I'm your brother. You know, like, wow. How okay, draw the connection for me on how that's going to be, you know?
Well, so for me, it's a couple of different meanings. Taking it to the streets is, you could sit on your ass all day long and wait, but that is not how you grow business. Take it to the streets, meet a lot of people. That's your inventory. The inventory is the people and the quality of people you have around you. So it's funny. So I was dealing with Rogue yesterday, those attorneys, and they were like, it just seems like they were searching for somebody, and that person had posted a lot about dogs. And I said, you like dogs? Yeah, I love dogs. I go, well, then that's your connection. Oh, well, that seems disingenuous. I go, no, calling and trying to sell them something is disingenuous.
Right.
And they just say, hey, man, you're putting shit out there about dogs. I love dogs. Let's just talk about dogs. So,
I think the other part of that is when you're feeling like it's disingenuous, when you're doing the research, because I had this conversation with Drew as well. When you're doing the research and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this, but I know that I'm doing this because I ultimately want to be able to sell them a boat. Well, you got to remove yourself from that result first. You got to change your thought to realizing that not everybody who likes dogs is going to end up doing business with you, but you have the opportunity to build a friendship first. So just because they like dogs doesn't mean you're actually going to align.
I went down that road with them and they were like, well, I'm not really going to be friends with them. I go, why not? What happens if you meet your best friend? Like, why is that horrible? Could you do that 5 times a day? Then the numbers start to stack. So, these articles that I pull and reports, everybody knows I'm a maniac for all of this stuff. Read this. Good reps earn their prospects admiration, loyalty, and referrals.
Yep.
So I hate the word prospect. I just don't get it. I'm like, why would you call somebody a prospect instantly? But they skillfully handle objections and preemptively preempt surface concerns to make them go away. So if you're a problem solver, you can do that whether you get paid or not. And sometimes it's easy to just throw it out there. So it says how to be a good salesperson. There's 26, and they start with identify and stick to your buyer personas. Would that be the first on your list?
Well, so it would, number one, I wouldn't use the word buyer persona. I could change this language immediately, and it would make sense. Instead of sticking to your buyer personas, stick to the things. Stick to the people that you have commonalities with.
Right.
Because that could be your personal buyer persona, not the ideal client per se, but talk to people that you can be friends with. Talk to people that you have commonalities with. I had this conversation yesterday in the training. If I'm doing research on someone, I don't care if they're the president of the largest company in the world. If I don't have a relevant reason to have a dialogue with them, I'm out. I got nothing. There's no point in me trying to go get that conversation because there's no way for me to enter into it with real relevant content.
So, this list goes all over the map. Number 2 is a good one. I wouldn't put it number 2, but it says use a measurable, repeatable sales process. Again, strike the word sales and just a repeatable process on how to put yourself in front of people. That creates opportunity, not sales. Creating opportunity, right, leads to people converting, not the other way around.
You see Todd's comment. So yes, I may have broke that person's persona for that solar panel rep, but I think when they say sales process, most organizations go, yeah, we know exactly how we're going to take somebody from the first call to the end and the agreement. Nobody ever talks about what the process is for developing the opportunity. How do you get to the first call? And that to me was where I came to you and was like, look, they trained me all about ESPN. They trained me all about what we have and what we do. They didn't give me any kind of good ideas on how to create new opportunities. All they're telling me to do is cold call. And that doesn't seem like the most efficient way to do it.
Fascinating here. Number 24 on this list is build personal relationships. Number 24, way at the bottom. Right. Like, wouldn't that be like the first thing? If you're really good at building relationships, the right people will raise their hand if you know your shit. See, that's the difference, is everybody else is looking for a quick, I'm going to move them through the pipeline. I'm going to trick them into buying. We don't even ask. I mean, everybody looks at our, decision tree, and it's, the bottom piece is so insignificant. But one of the things it has in here that nobody seems to focus on, but I find hilarious, is follow-up. Now, right. when I think of follow-up, I think of the movie Swingers.
Right.
When
how many days?
The girl's number, right? And he asks all of his friends, like, "Hey, what's
3 days, a week? It's a month, right?"
This process.
Especially goes, "Are you out of your mind? You want me to wait a month?" Right?
Let her wait. So, but here's the thing: there is an art form to it, and I tell people if that's part of your process, which our process is very simple. It's 4 steps. It's very repeatable. The last thing is have a cadence of when you want to follow up. And most people in business don't do that. Oh, you were in my inbox and I forgot. What else are you thinking about than the people that you just recently contacted? And believe me, the first time you follow up, that's why I was glad to get to this, is that most people don't. So that's your point of differentiation.
You immediately,
have a nice dialogue. You follow up. We're following up in video. Hey, thank you. I enjoyed that. They go, holy cow, man, nobody follows up for anything. Everybody does their own shit, and then a week later, you think it's relevant to follow up? People go on about their business. I think it should be done in the first 12 hours.
I think first 24. I think you got a full day. Because sometimes for me, it's hard to get it in 12, especially like if I meet you at 1:00 in the afternoon. And, you got kids, you got stuff you got to do. I might not get to it till 9:00 at night. And if I don't get to it at 9:00 at night, I'm coming back in the morning. So I think you got 24 hours to get back. 12 is always going to win. So what was mind blowing to me is that I received the advice that you shouldn't follow up too quickly because it makes you look too eager. And I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. You said what? Like, to me, the quicker the follow-up, the better. The more people appreciate that. The more people know that you value that time. And the other thing is, why are you following up? To me, all I'm following up is to say thank you. Regardless of where the conversation went, every conversation deserves a follow-up thank you to say, thanks for the time. Thanks for sharing this information with me. And then you can move on to whatever else it is. But there's always a reason to follow up, because at a minimum, somebody should be getting a thank you and appreciation for what had happened.
Which, in my years of growing through different businesses and meeting different sales trainers and stuff like that, I met a guy named Jack Daly. Howie knows him really well. Jack built his own big business in the mortgage space. What he did was used to carry around cards, and right in his car, he would leave a meeting in his car, write a handwritten note with a stamp on it, boom, put it right then and there. So for me, my training is I do it immediately. I'm like, bang, bang, within the next hour or two, I have my 15-minute break. I blow it out so it doesn't have to go beyond 12 hours. But, Sherry Cedar, who I'm having so much fun working with, and her company is just great. When somebody's on script, it's robotic. This is what I was told to say. Wouldn't one of the greatest skills or habits of a great business development person is to be a conversationalist?
1,000%. But I think in order to be really good at having conversations, something that's not on this list is be a learner. You should constantly be learning, right? Every day you should learn something new. You should read something. You should listen to something. And whether it's something that pertains to an interest of yours or whether it's something that pertains to your industry, you should constantly be evolving your knowledge, because that's what gives you the content to have great conversations. You walk into a conversation and say, you know what I learned this morning on this podcast? And you can share something with somebody that maybe they didn't know. And oh, wow, how valuable is that?
So I think, to sum it up here, people get trained on speaking about their business. They don't get trained on speaking. Just be human, be in the moment. And so that's where the roles have reversed. Most people show up at a party and go, hi, I'm the VP of sales. And whoa. I don't want to know what you do. I want to know who you are. So, you start those conversations, which is what you hear people talking about over coffee. People don't talk about proposals and bullshit at coffee. They don't bring brochures. They talk about real shit, like sports, like concerts, like
whatever
food.
People's interests are, like dogs. I mean, whatever it is, like that to me is the entire point of the development piece. And when you look at this list of things, most of these things they're talking about, like roll with rejection, that's so far down the line that if you haven't done all of the things up front to get there, you can't roll with rejection.
Well, so I think we set ourselves up for rejection. What's the point if you were looking for that outcome, right? Only, which is how we were trained. Go get the business, hit the quota, do this. If you're only looking for that, that's where rejection is. But if you get the best out of people, I wrote about it and said there was one person who did not buy from me. One of the greatest stories in my sales career, he could not buy from me because the company was publicly traded. There were all kinds of rules where they couldn't market, but he has turned me on to so much business that his value to me was much greater than the one transaction or one marketing thing.
Which that's the whole point, isn't it? Like, is if everybody that you talk to, if you earn the right to then talk about business at some point, if you lay the foundation for a relationship first, right? Because not everybody's going to actually partake in that relationship. But if you lay the foundation for it first, then you don't lose the opportunity on the back end. Like I see people all day long in the comments of the Huddle say, play the long game, play the long game. Well, in order to play the long game, you got to do the stuff right up front. And so if you're not preparing yourself to be a good developer, which I know one of the things on here was active listening, that's part of being a great conversationalist, is really listening to the other person and not trying to shove your agenda down their throat, but really listening and asking questions based on
What'd
that.
you say? Sorry. I'm too busy thinking about what I'm going to respond with,
Great way to end the week.
Final way to end the week. Great show, great content. Arlene from the American Cancer Society is up early. She is here in the huddle, man. It doesn't get any better than that. That's change in behavior, inching your way to greatness every single day. What percentage do we get better?
1%.
Get after it. The grind includes Saturday and Sunday. We'll be back Monday to close the month in a flurry. But for now, let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.